half of the body was obviously lying against the peat, and the other half of the body was lying against what appeared to be mud. The part that was lying against the mud, there was nothing there. There was no clothes, there was no features, nothing. It had absolutely gone. And the part lying against the peat, all the features were there, all the clothes were there, the hair was there. Very easily to identify that from the picture that we had, that was Leslie Ann Downey.
They took me to the morgue, and I knew it was Leslie. I could tell. Oh, God. I saw half of Leslie because only half were there. I wanted to get over and touch her. They wouldn't let me touch her. I wanted a cutting of her hair. They wouldn't give me one. I was being sick all the time. I was with her, but I didn't want to leave her. But that child went through.
If we hadn't found the body, I don't know what would have happened, really. They might have got away with it.
Myra was a hard, arrogant woman. She had no compassion for children. She had nothing. She wouldn't say anything. She would not talk. She wouldn't answer a question. During the interview, someone put on the table in the interview room a poster of John Kilbride. And her lunch was brought in on a tray. It was put in front of her on top of, so she could see the John Kilbride poster. That didn't have any effect on Myra. She just was an emotionless female.
She could open her heart and told us the whole story of what had gone on from start to finish. But she didn't, and she wouldn't, and everything had to be proved, and the breakthrough was finding the body of Leslie Ann Downey.
When we found the photographs of Leslie Ann Downey standing on a bed, naked, legs apart, hands outstretched, clothed in nothing but a pair of socks and wearing a gag, with a terrified look in her eyes, we realised that if we could link the bed head in the back bedroom at 16 Wardlebrook Avenue with the bed head revealed in the photographs, this would be a major breakthrough. It would mean that Brady and Hindley knew of the whereabouts of Leslie Ann Downey. I'd already found Myra Hindley's fingerprints on the photographs, so we had to then do a comparison with the bedhead in the photograph and the bedhead in the back bedroom. This was done in the same way as you would do a fingerprint comparison.
They were able to match marks up on the wall in the bedhead with marks in the photograph of Leslie Ann Downey. That, of course, proved that that photograph was taken in that room.
Having found that similarity, of course, that meant that the fingerprints revealed on the photographs, identified as those of Myra Hindley, placed the photographs in Wardlebrook Avenue, placed the bed revealed in the photographs in Wardlebrook Avenue, which showed that they must have had complete knowledge of the photographs, the room, and Leslie Ann Downey.
Since Brady and Hindley had photographed each other near the grave of Leslie Ann Downey, police believed the couple must have pictured themselves on other graves. They had a hunch that finding the exact location of one photograph in particular could lead them to the discovery of a second body.
Another photograph which was very, very interesting was a photograph of Myra Hindley kneeling on a moorland with a puppy dog in her coat, staring down at a patch of which looked like recently disturbed ground. The trick was to find this scene. I got a telephone call at Ashton-under-Lyne police station. Get yourself and your camera up to the moors and don't be followed. When I got there, I was given the photograph the picture of Myra and Holland Brownell, look at that and see if it means anything to you. As I walked around, I suddenly realised I did lit upon the absolutely same spot. That's when I took another photograph showing the foreground and the background of Holland Brownell and matched it up with a photograph. And those two photographs together are quite a picture, because the only thing that's missing from my photograph is Hindley and the puppy. The next thing to do, of course, was to establish that it was a grave. The infamous bamboo cane was prodded into the ground, and sure enough, there was a distinctive smell which anybody who searched on the moors could identify immediately. A tentative moving of the earth then discovered a shoe and a foot. A long, shallow grave was discovered with a body in, which we all knew was going to be John Kilbride.
They brought a shoe to me to identify, you know, and I knew right away it was John's. I had to go up to the mortuary.
The remains were there, but she obviously couldn't identify a body, so she had to identify by clothing.
But I knew it was John's shoe, Super Duke, just been mended, chisel toe. I knew it was his.
She was upset. It was terrible. It was her child that was being identified, wasn't it? But there was no child to identify. It's any clothing.
They cleaned it up as best we could, but I'll never forget it, that. I'd altered his jacket, I'd altered his underwear, his father's underwear, because I wasn't rich, I couldn't always buy him new. I knew it was his. The buttons on the jacket, football, I'd stitched on myself, and there was no doubt at all. Not nice to look back on that.
It was horrendous, that murder. And particularly when you see pictures of a woman, which you later learn is a woman standing over the grave of a child that's just been buried, just dumped like a bag of rubbish in the moors. It's horrific. And then to hear the tapes of a child screaming and crying for its mummy. Stop.
Armed with a hammer and a screwdriver for protection, a terrified couple hurry to a public telephone. The time, 6 o'clock in the morning. The date, October the 7th, 1965. The place, a Manchester Overspill council estate.
Which service do you require?
Police! There's been a murder.
A few hours earlier, the youth, 17-year-old David Smith, had witnessed the brutal murder with an axe of another teenage boy at the nearby home of his sister-in-law. What unfolded from Smith's call to police was to shock a nation and unveil a series of murders which were to become the most notorious in British criminal history. Whole generations have grown up unaware of the horror of what happened 35 years ago, and for many who do remember, the precise details have evaporated in the mists of time. For the first time on television, we tell the complete, up-to-date story of child killers Ian Brady and Myra Hindley.
I was there on the day the jury went out, and I was there on the day that the jury returned and found them guilty. The judge sentenced them to life imprisonment. The death penalty had been abolished, and they had written into the new act the fact that the judge had the discretion to place a tariff upon the life sentence. In other words, he could say they served a minimum of 15, 25, 30 years. But the judge made no reference whatsoever to any tariff. And I've got to say that when the judge said, put them down, got up and went out, the first thing they said, well, what's the tariff? What are they going to get? And